Most people believe that when everything falls apart, the sharpest minds take over. They don't. The moment a real crisis hits, the average person's thinking doesn't sharpen, it collapses entirely. And the decisions made in those few seconds can define the next 10 years of their life. In this video, you are going to discover why your brain betrays you exactly when you need it most, how the most resilient people in history train themselves to stay clear under pressure, and most importantly, what you can do, what you can start doing today so that the next time chaos arrives at your door. You're not frozen, you're focused. But first, there's something about your mind that almost nobody talks about. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. Think about the last time you were truly under pressure, a sudden confrontation, a financial shock, a relationship on the verge of breaking. What happened inside you? Your heart accelerated, your thoughts scattered, you said things you didn't mean to, or said nothing at all when everything needed to be said. That wasn't weakness, that was biology. Your brain in that moment hijacked you, and you didn't even know it was happening. There is a part of your brain called the amygdala, and its only job is survival, and his only job is survival. When it senses danger, real or imagined, it floods your system with stress hormones and shuts down access to your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for rational thought, perspective, and decision-making. In other words, the crisis doesn't just challenge you from the outside. It dismantles you from the inside. And here is the part nobody wants to admit. Most of us have been making our worst decisions precisely in the moments that demanded our best to do. So the emotion underneath this problem isn't confusion, it's fear. Not the loud, dramatic kind, the quiet, paralyzing kind of fear, but the fear that if you make the wrong move, everything falls apart. The fear that you're not capable enough, not calm enough, not prepared enough. That fear is the real enemy, not the crisis itself. And until you learn to recognize it the moment it arrives, it will keep driving your choices while you believe you're the one in control. The people who navigate crisis aren't people without fear. They're people who learn something the rest of us weren't taught. That clarity is a skill, not a personality trait. It can be built, practiced, and deployed on demand. The question is, how exactly do they do it? That answer changes everything, and we are getting there. The first thing high performers do in a crisis is something counterintuitive. They slow down before they speed up. While everyone else is reacting, they are pausing. Not because they are indifferent, but because they understand that a 1 second delay between stimulus and response is the space where wisdom lives. That pause is not passive. It is the most active thing a human being can do when pressure is at its peak. You can train that pause. Start with something small. The next time you feel a spike of anxiety or anger, don't respond for 3 seconds. Breathe once, deeply and consciously. That single act shifts your nervous system from threat mode to thinking mode. It sounds too simple to be powerful, right? But simplicity executed consistently is what separates people who survive a crisis from people who are destroyed by it. And what comes after that pause is where it gets extraordinary. Once you've created that moment of space, the next step is something most people never do under pressure. They ask better questions. Not, why is this happening to me? That question traps you in victimhood and loops your brain in circles. Instead, the clearest thinkers ask, what is actually in my control right now? That single shift in language rewires your focus from what you've lost to what you can still act on, from paralysis to possibility. There is a pattern in every crisis. No matter how chaotic it appears, a small set of actions that, if taken first, prevent the situation from spiraling farther. The people who find those actions aren't the ones with the highest IQ. They are the ones who have learned to quiet the noise long enough to see what's real. But here's what's more unsettling. Most people never develop this skill because they are waiting for the crisis to teach it to them. And by then, it's already too late. There's another layer to this that most productivity content completely ignores. Your ability to think clearly in a crisis is deeply connected to how you've lived during calm moments. Every time you avoid a difficult conversation, you're training your brain to escape discomfort. Every time you distract yourself instead of sitting with uncertainty, you're weakening your capacity to tolerate pressure. The crisis doesn't create your limitations, it reveals them. This is not a judgment, this is a map. Because if calm moments are where you build resilience, then what you do today in ordinary and remarkable Tuesday moments is literally programming how you'll perform when everything is on the line. Small daily disciplines in thinking and breathing and decision making are not about self-improvement aesthetics. They are survival training. And believe me, let's bring this together because there's a third element that ties everything into place, and it's the one most people overlook in the heat of the moment. When you're in crisis, your identity is under attack. You don't just fear making the wrong decision, you fear becoming the wrong person, incompetent, unstable, unworthy. That underlying threat to self-image is what fuels the panic. And the antidote is radical honesty with yourself in real time. Ask yourself if the story I'm telling myself right now actually true, or is it fear speaking? Most of the catastrophic narratives we build during a crisis are projections, not facts. The moment you separate what is real from what is feared, your thinking sharpens instantly. Not because the crisis disappears, but because you stop fighting two battles at once. You stop fighting the situation and fighting yourself simultaneously. So remember the open question from the beginning. The thing about your brain that nobody talks about, here it is. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a crisis you rehearsed and once you've lived. Mental simulation done correctly and consistently builds the same neural pathways as real experience. That means you can practice clarity right now, before the next storm arrives. You can train the pause, you can rehearse the questions, you can strengthen the identity that holds steady when everything shakes. Clarity in a crisis is not a gift given to a few. It is a discipline built by those willing to do the quiet work before the noise begins. Slow down to speed up. Ask what you can control. Separate fear from fact. Train daily for the moment that demands everything. The crisis will come. It always does. The only question is whether you'll be ready to think clearly when it does.